Hello and welcome. I am N3FHW. My name is Joe and I'm from Hampstead, Maryland. Today I want to do a video for you on how to set up the DVAP and the Raspberry Pi to link into the D-Star network. It's a fun little project. It's fairly cheap to do, and you'll have fun with the results and have a great communications tool to the D-Star network once done. The main reason I wanted to do this video is that in searching YouTube and other resources on the internet, I found all kinds of information regarding the DVAP and using a Raspberry Pi. However, I never found anything that shows step by step and how to install everything from beginning to end to get the system operating. The software that's provided by the Papa system member K6KD John, which we'll be linking to in this video, is an awesome image that basically contains everything you need to get it going. There are different images out there. This one seemed to be very self-contained, very easy to set up, as well as he gives instructions in a PDF for setting it up, and we'll be going over that as well. So hopefully you will find the video informative and be able to complete the setup of the DVAP and the Raspberry Pi to get on.
So here's the Raspberry Pi and the DVAP. This one's already set up. I have everything plugged in. Here's a LAN connector to the Raspberry Pi Ethernet port. There's a USB connector to connect the DVAP. Your power cord that goes into the rear. And you can use pretty much anything that has a micro connector on there. You have to make sure you have enough wattage to run everything. So I suggest you follow some instructions that you find on the internet for using the correct power supply for a Raspberry Pi. Then you have the SD card here on the back, and your DVAP. Now the DVAP I'm using is a 440 DVAP. I'm sorry, is a 2 meter DVAP. There's a 440 DVAP available as well. The 2 meter is a little less expensive. We'll put some links up for where you can find this hardware. But this is the basic configuration. Now, you can also use a little Wi-Fi stick here to use your connection. It requires a little bit more power, so you need to make sure again you have the proper power supply for the Raspberry Pi. This requires a little bit more power because it's powering the DVAP. It would be powering this Wi-Fi as well as the Raspberry Pi. So this would plug into the extra port of the USB, and the software is already on the image for using a Wi-Fi setup as well. You would also use this if you're going portable and you want to tether it to your iPhone while you're portable or mobile in your vehicle.
We'll be using an image that's prepared by a member of the Papa system, and that image will include the G4RLX software. That's a DVAP software, which is different than the stock software that comes with the DVAP or is available for download for the DVAP. It'll also include the gateway software for Irc Dbb for CCS and DCS, as well as APRS. So basically it's an all-in-one package. It's also nice because it includes 2 commands that you can use from your HT to help preserve the image on the Raspberry Pi. The halt command, which turns off the Raspberry Pi, and the reboot command, which will reboot the Raspberry Pi. A lot of times when you're shutting down the Raspberry Pi while the software is running, there's an issue with corruption of the image. These 2 commands help preserve the Raspberry Pi image and not corrupt it. The other thing that is on there is VNC software, so you don't need to hook up a monitor to the Raspberry Pi. You can actually just remote into it to do the settings and other things you need to do, as well as monitor the Raspberry Pi.
Now, when you buy SD cards, you want to make sure that you buy the highest quality you can. Because like I said, the Raspberry Pi has a tendency to corrupt the SD card. The faster the card, the better quality card, the rare chances you have of maintaining the image without corrupting it. One of the things I always like to do is, once I have all the settings set up on an SD card using a Raspberry Pi, I like to take a copy of that image off the SD card with the settings and save it on another computer, and that way if it does get corrupted, all I have to do is rewrite everything and not reconfigure it. So you want to make sure you use a high quality SD card when doing this. The image is almost exactly 8 gigabytes. And that creates a problem for a lot of SD cards because there's some software on there already for running the SD. So to avoid that, what I've basically done is gotten an SD card that's bigger than 8 gigabytes. And that way you don't run into the problem. So I suggest you use a bigger card than an 8 gigabyte card in order to perform this install. Okay, so here we have the ICOM ID51A by ICOM. It's the D-Star radio I use to connect to the DVAP. It's a great little radio. It's easy to use. Just powering it on here. You see that on the display here. We have the use repeater function. This is how you dial up to different reflectors to log on to use on the DVAP. So it's really easy to use. It comes right across the display there. Use the tuning knob here to get to the reflector you want to use. In this case, we'll just fire up reflector 1 Charlie just to test this thing out. You hit the push to talk button here, and it will log on to the reflector. And there it's connected to the reflector. It comes back to us. Then you use the knob and you switch it over to the use repeater setting, and then you're all set to actually use the repeater with the or the reflector with the DVAP. Okay, we're ready to get started with the setup for the image for the DVAP. First thing you need to do is go to the tiny URL which I've posted here, and paste that into your browser, and you'll be able to go to the website where the image is located. Again, the image is provided by K6KD. His name is John, and he has put everything together you need in order to get the Raspberry Pi to start working with the DVAP. So you go ahead and click on the image, and then you can proceed to download it. Just remember where you downloaded it to. It is 1.3 gigabytes, so it will take a while depending upon the speed of your internet connection to download the software. After you're done downloading the image software, you can go ahead and double click on the installation documentation. It's a nice PDF file that steps you through the actual configuration of the software. After you're done downloading both of those, we can proceed to the next step, which will allow us to write the image to the SD card. Okay, there's 2 additional pieces of software you'll want to download from the internet that you'll need in order to get the image put onto the SD card. The first one is WinZip. It's just an unzipping file. It's free for evaluation purposes and can be used to unzip the file that you download from K6KD's website, which is the image for the Raspberry Pi. So you go ahead and you can load this into WinZip and double click it, and it will begin to extract. The second piece of software that you'll want to download from the internet is Win32 Disk Imager. You can Google this and find it for free on the internet through SourceForge, and download and install the file. This is the actual writing software that will take the image from the Windows machine, put it onto an SD card in a format that is readable by the Raspberry Pi. All you do is you load up your image, which has been extracted using WinZip, and bring up that image. You want to make sure you select your device where the SD card is located. Again, you need a 16 gigabyte SD card for most applications, because this is almost an 8 gigabyte image. So if you write it to an 8 gigabyte card, in most cases it's not going to fit. I don't have a 16-bit card right here to write, but basically what you do is you select where that card is inserted in your computer, at which drive. You click on Write. It'll give you a warning. You click Yes to continue, and it will begin to write the image to the SD card. This progress bar will go ahead and go across, and once it's done, it will tell you that it is finished. Okay, So here is the SD card we just made an image. It is an 8 gigabyte card because this card that I'm using actually was big enough to hold the full image. Again, I recommend using a 16 gigabyte card just to make sure that the image will fit. We're going to put this into the Raspberry Pi, and you insert it right into the SD slot here of the Raspberry Pi. So we'll go ahead and put that in. And now we'll go ahead and fire up the unit here using the power supply here and put it into the power supply plug in the Raspberry Pi. You see some lights come on, the image will start to boot, the DVAP will start to light up here, showing that it has a power connection. Again, this is the first time we want to fire it up. We want to make sure we're connected to the LAN via internet and not use the wireless card. This DVAP is in the process of booting up, along with the image of the Raspberry Pi here. And there's basically it's loading all the files and things. When this green pulsing goes to a blue and starts blinking a blue intermittently, that means that the image is loaded and that the DVAP is working correctly. You see it starts to go to blue, and then right here you see a red where it's actually transmitting, saying that it is on air and it's ready to be used. It'll do a voice command. So that's pretty much all you need to do to get the thing fired up, and we'll start the configuration process. Okay, so the image is booted up. We're ready to go into it using the VNC viewer, which is the software I downloaded for free from the internet. So that's another piece of software you can use in order to remote into the Raspberry Pi. Double click the icon. It brings up this this dialog box. Right here is the IP address for the Raspberry Pi. You can find that by going to your router, seeing the attached devices, and whatever the image name is. In this case, I think it just says Raspberry Pi, and you can find the associated IP address. We go ahead and leave this as let VNC server choose the encryption method and hit connect. There's a password on this image for the VNC, and it's the same as the organization that John belongs to, and it's called Papa Sys. So it's PAPASYS. You hit OK. Okay, so now we are into the Raspberry Pi remotely, and this is what you see when you first remote into the Raspberry Pi. So there's two open pieces of software on the desktop here for the Raspberry Pi: the DVAP node software and the Irc Dbb Gateway Software. So we're going to configure both of those. All right, so the first piece of software we're going to configure here is the DVAP node software. This is basically the software that runs the DVAP. It has a little log here. It shows different things that are going on. These are those transmitting the voice, where it'll say the call sign and not linked, to let you know that your DVAP is up and running. So let's go to let's go to Edit, and then Preferences. Okay, and our dialog box here comes up. And so this is the first thing you see is call sign tab. So on the call sign tab, you put in your call sign. Since I'm using a 2-meter DVAP, it's the letter C, which is a D-star designation for 2 meter. If it's a 440 DVAP, then it would be B. You put your call sign in here as well, in capitals on both. And G is already defaulted for this, and that means gateway. I'm using a DVAP, so it's a simplex node. It's not a repeater, or a dual frequency repeater. Input-output, it's just one single frequency. Acknowledge is off, restrict is off, repeater 1 validation is off. Let's go to the next tab. Next tab is network. This is all filled in for you already, but this is a local server. That's the gateway port. That's the local address, and that's the local port. So those should be filled in. If not, you can put those values in there. For timers, I have a timeout set. You can scroll this to whatever you want to set it to, but it's 180 seconds and an acknowledge timeout of 500 milliseconds. Under beacon, I have the beacon every 10 minutes, which is pretty standard for FCC rules to identify every 10 minutes. The message I'll scroll across is N3 FHW DVAP across the radio. The voice is enabled, and the language is English, US. Under announcement, I have it disabled. You can customly put custom files in here for your repeater and so forth. I just choose to disable it and not mess with that tab. And then finally, you have the location of the DVAP. This is the USB 0 port on the Raspberry Pi. I have it set for the 2 meter band. You can choose 2 meters, 70 centimeters. You have to input the frequency to this many characters. So I'm using 146.46. So it's 146.46, and then fill in the rest with zeros. The power is set at -10. The squelch at -100. You hit OK with that, and you're done setting up the DVAP software. It will the changes will be made, will take effect when you restart the software. All right, the next piece of software we're going to configure is the Irc Dbb Gateway Software. It also has a log box. You can see what's going on here. My Raspberry Pi has gone out to the APRS and transmitted my position for the gateway. You can see we're connected to the Irc Dbb server. So there is no tab up here to actually configure this. There's another icon on the desktop, and that icon is called Gateway Configure. So we go ahead, right click that, hit open, and then the configuration software will pop up, and we can start going through the configuration of the gateway. Okay. Once you click that icon, this is the dialog box that will show up for the Irc Dbb Gateway software. Bunch of tabs on here. Some are used, some are not. Let's look at the first one you encounter, and that's the Gateway tab. Under Type for the gateway, it's Repeater. Even though it's a DVAP, you want to choose Repeater. For call sign, again, capitalize your call sign, put it in there. It's already defaulted to G. Gateway address is left blank. This is filled in for you already, 172.16.0.20. That might be a different number for you. Local ICOM port address is 20,000. Local address is, again, that internal server, 127.0.0.1. Local HB port, 200.20010. Now, here's where you input your latitude and your longitude. This is where the software will pull for the APRS location. I've also filled in my town and my state and my website address. Let's go to the next tab, which is Repeater 1. This is the repeater that we're using for the DVAP. It is band C, which is 2 meters. Again, B would be 440. The type is homebrew. Again, the internal server address 127.0.0.1, and the port from the last software was 200.1.1. Bands you don't fill in: reflector none, startup yes, reconnect never. What you can put in here is, I think, a startup reflector, but I don't do that. I just manually connect to reflector. Next repeater tab here for Repeater 1 is just a second tab. Again, we're working on Repeater 1. This tells it the frequency of the DVAP 146.46, 3 zeros after it. The offset, there is no offset since it's a simplex node. I put the range at 1 kilometer. Again, here's the latitude and longitude of where we're located, where the DVAP's located. I didn't know the AGL, so I left it at 0. Again, QTH is put in as Hampstead, Maryland, your town, your state, and I put in my my website address. Repair 2, you do nothing because you don't have a second one. And there's a couple of these tabs. We just scroll through them. And the next one we are going to work on here is Irc Dbb. It is enabled. You want to choose this server, server1-ik2xpy.free-dstar.org. That is a test server with Irc Dbb. You have to register to actually get the full access. With this server, you can just use your username as your password, as your call sign, and no password is required. And it'll still let you do the routing using Irc Dbb. The next tab is d-prs, which is the D-Star version of APRS. It's enabled. The server you want to use is rotate.aprs2.net, and the port is 14580. And that will allow your DVAP to show up on the APRS maps. The next tab here is d-extra. It is enabled with 5 dongles. That's just another routing protocol for reflectors. D+ enabled, maximum 5 dongles. Again, the login here, you want to put in your call sign in capitals. Next tab is DCS and CCS. I've enabled both. There's a list of servers. The US server is CCS 006. And again, this is another protocol on D-Star. StarNet I don't use, and if you can set this up, but I just don't use it, so I didn't input any StarNet. And there's a couple different StarNet tabs. And then finally we get to the last one is remote. I don't have it set up to remote into this particular box and into the software. I just use the VNC. Okay, so now we're done configuring the software. You want to hit File and then save it. Dialog will pop up that says changes will not take effect till you restart the program. You hit OK. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to do to the Raspberry Pi image is access a file called commandprocess.py. You do so by clicking on the second icon on the bottom command line or toolbar, and it's called File Manager. So you click on that, and it brings up this dialog box automatically into the Pi folder. Here's the file we want to edit, and it's called cmdprocess.py. We double click it. When the file opens up, there's only one parameter in here that we want to make sure that we put in correctly, and that's here under call sign. Call sign equals the quote mark. Then it's the first 6 characters of your call sign, and it's got to be left justified. So since mine is only 5 characters, N3FHW, and then the last character is a blank. So you have to have 6 characters in that field. After you've done that, you click Save. It's already saved, so you just click Save and then exit out of it. And you're ready to reboot the Pi. Okay. To reboot the Pi, Raspberry Pi, you go to the lower left icon on the toolbar. You click on it. You choose Log Off, and then this dialog box shows up. You go ahead and click Reboot, and you're going to see the Raspberry Pi reboot. And so we've lost the connection via the VNC. As soon as it reboots and comes back up, we can go ahead and test it out.
Okay, so now we're ready to try QSO. Seeing that the DVAP is working correctly and the Raspberry Pi image is working correctly, so we want to go ahead and fire up the IDE 51. We'll do the steps last time. We'll link to an active reflector. We'll try one Charlie here.
Link to REF001 Charlie.
Okay, so it's linked. We switch it back to the use repeater command, which will allow us to talk onto the reflector. And we'll put a call out and see if somebody can respond back so we know the DVAP is working well. This is November 3, Fox Hotel Whiskey in Maryland on Reflector 1 Charlie. Is somebody around that could just give me a radio check and let me demo the D-Star? Over.
November kilowatt number 8 Juliet, Cottage Grove, Oregon. Go ahead.
NK8J from November 3, Fox Hotel Whiskey. Hey, thanks, Brad, for coming back to my call. I'm actually doing a YouTube video here demonstrating my ID51 talking with my DVAP, and just wanted to get a quick QSO and see how things were working, if things sounded good, using the ID51 to a Raspberry Pi with a DVAP attached. Back over to you there, Brad.
You're sounding excellent on this end. I'm actually on an ID51A myself. I'm running through a Yaesu FT8100 with a Norencom starboard. Same thing as the Dutch starboard. It's a GMSK modem that goes into the computer over the internet. So pretty much the same thing, except my radio is about 5 watts instead of 100 milliwatt. But you're sounding excellent in the D-Star system there. Go ahead.
All right, Brad. Well, I appreciate you coming back to my call, and your GMSK setup there sounds great as well. I had considered that at some point, and then I decided to do the Raspberry Pi with the DVAP instead, so that I could take it mobile with me, and it's a little bit easier to kind of town around to different places I go to. So I appreciate you coming back to my call. Name here is Joe, by the way, Juliet Oscar Echo. We're in the small town of Hampstead, Maryland, about 20 miles northwest of Baltimore there, Brad. 73, and thanks again for coming back to my call. Back over to you for a final. This is N3FHW.
Okay, N3FHW from NKHA. Not a problem there. Good to hear you on D-Star. I've had my radio since August last year when I won it. The HiCom Amination Contest, and just finally got D-Star around February when I got income tax. It's fully set up here. So with that, you're going to have loads of fun. If you want to, check out my QRS webpage, loaded with a lot of information there. Definitely will have it in there, and I'll put you in the logbook there as a contact there on D-Star. So with that, I'll say 73, so have fun with D-Star. N3FHJ from NKHA, Cottage Grove, Oregon.
All right, very good. Got all that. I will definitely log into your QRZ page. I'll also kick you an email with a link to this video so you can see, you can hear our QSO and everything. Hey, that's really cool with Ham Nation. Went on a radio. I listen to the podcast of Ham Nation and catch it on the video cast when I can. So I am an active listener of Ham Nation, so that's a great show. 73 there, Brad. We'll talk to you later. N3FHW will be clear. Reflector 1 Charlie. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it. That's how it all works, and it's great because what you can do is you can move around all the different reflectors without having to tie up somebody's repeater. It's all low milliwatts, so it's fairly local. You can't go far distances with this setup, but I can tell you that I can have my DVAP running. I can be on the back porch and talk, and around the neighbor's house, front yard, anywhere in the house, and it works great. I can dial up any of the reflectors to get any of the nets I want to, or hook up with whomever on D-Star. So I hope you have fun with it. If you have any questions at the very end here, will be all my contact information. And I hope you enjoy using the Raspberry Pi with a DVAP and connecting to the D-Star network. This is Joe, N3FHW. Thanks for watching.